Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to be making the last part of our assignment 1.2.3 multi-view drawing, and that is going to be our pivot lock, looking right here. All right, I'll show you how to model this in 3D and then pull it into a drawing as well. All right, so let's get started by opening up a new document. Call this one video number 3. You call it whatever you need to make sure you can locate it when it comes time to turn it in. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my top and right side plane just to clean up the screen a little bit for you guys following along. And let's go into sketch mode and click the front plane and then front on the view cube so I'm looking straight down on it. All right, so the important thing is to figure out where you want to start, which face you want to model, and where we're going to go from there. Again, as I always say, there's no wrong face to start on, but there is an easier face to start on. So I'm going to start right here with my front face. And I'm going to actually start right down here at the closest corner. That way we can go up 1.25 inches. We can go to the left 3 inches, highlighted right here. We'll worry about this round over later, or this little fillet. And then from here, I can go up to my highest elevation. And that requires me to look around. I see that the whole part is 2 inches tall. And I've already gone 1.25, so I need to go up another 0.75 inches. Right, and then I can go out to the very end. There's no dimension calling out that very end dimension, so the total width. But I do see right down here 4.5. And that 4.5 is to the center point of this circle, but also the center point of this arch. All right, those center lines extended all the way out beyond the arch means that that's the center point for the circle as well as the arch. All right, so I've already gone 3. So that means I need to go 1.5 inches more to get to the center point of the arch. And then our arch has a radius of 1.5. So from the center point, I need to go another 1.5 to get all the way out to the end. So that gives me 3 inches. Okay, and while I'm doing that, I can go ahead and model this, what I call the alligator mouth. So I see that the bottom lip is 0.625 inches thick, or inches tall. And then the hole in the middle is 0.75, or the gap in the middle is 0.75. If I do 2 minus 0.625 minus 0.75, I can find that the top lip is also 0.625 inches. So let's get started from there. All right, go into my line tool, and left click, pull it up, and that is 1.25, enter. Pull it out to the left, and that is 3, enter. And then I'm going to pull it up, 0.75, enter. And then I'm going to pull it out to the left side again, 3, enter. All right, and I'm going to use my scroll wheel, pressing it to pan over. Okay, and we said we were going to go down 0.625. That's how tall our top lip on our kind of alligator mouth is. And now we need to know how far we need to go in. All right, so we know this whole piece, this whole top piece is 3 inches. From this edge to the center of our arch to the other edge of our arch, all of that is 3 inches. And it doesn't give us how deep this cut is, but it does show us that it is 0.75 inches right here from that edge, right? So 3 minus 0.75 gives us 2.25. So that's how much I need to go in. So I'm still in my line tool. If you got out of it, you can click on it again up here or press L on your keyboard. I'm going in 2.25 inches, and then I'm going down 0.75 inches, going back out 2.25, or just where you see that orange dotted line as a guide, plants us there, and then I'm going down 0.625, or again you can see the horizontal orange line at the bottom, and then connecting back to our beginning, which shows us our whole dimension is 6. All right, so enter, escape out of the drawing tool, you can see that all the lines are black, so everything's fully constrained. All right, I'll pull these out just to clean it up for a bit so you can get a chance to look over it. All right, so this 0.75 is that gap. All right, so that's kind of the side profile of our pivot lock right here. So let's do this little round right here. So when we extrude it out, it's rounded all the way over. So that's going to be using our fillet tool right here, sketch fillet. And how you use that, you hover over it and it'll give you a little bit of an overview, and you can click it and then select the two faces that you want the round over to join in between. So see it, go ahead and throws it in there. Even shows you a little mouse left click, gives you a chance to change it. But ours is already a radius of 0.25, so we're happy with the default, and then just enter. All right, so now I can pull this little radius out just to show you that's already in there. All right, so that's everything that we need to do a extrusion. That's our whole side profile. So our extrusion, it doesn't show us our depth of our part, but again, right here's our arch with a radius of 1.5. So 1.5 from the edge to the middle, and then from middle to the other edge. So 1.5 times 2, or a 3-inch extrusion. All right, so just go straight into my extrusion tool. If you go straight into your extrusion tool from Sketch, it automatically selects the sketch that you just did. Remember, I like to go into the page so that I'm always looking at my front face or my front plane, and we're changing that depth to 3 inches. And enter. Done with that. All right, I'm gonna turn off the front plane now, as we'll be working on the sketch for the rest of the time. So here we are. We have our pivot lock. We just need to do some roundovers over here to create this arch, some holes, and then we will be set. So let's start with this roundover right here. So instead of going into another sketch, drawing a 3-inch diameter circle in the middle of this and then extruding these sides away with a subtractive extrusion, I can go right here to my fillet tool in the 3D model, cross-section circular, radius I want to change to 1.5. And then from here, instead of clicking the two faces, you just click the edge that you want to round over. So right here, boom to the back, boom, and boom. Green check, and I'm done. I already have my roundovers, so I'm starting to look like a pivot lock. All right, let's start with this upper face, elevated section, and draw this 1-inch diameter hole down through it. All right, so that's going to be pretty easy. I can go into sketch mode, and I'll show you how to use the hole tool on this one. All right, so I'm in sketch mode. I want to draw on top of this piece. I'm not even going to change it to look down on it, because all I'm going to do is go up here to my point tool, and I'm just going to plane a point. So I've highlighted the arch right here and making it orange. So I'm pulling a line down, and then it snaps to the center point of that arch. And that right there is where I want to plant a point. You see that little white dot? That's where I'm planting that point. Green check. Now I can go into my hole tool, change this to simple. I just want a simple hole. I want it to go all the way through. I select where I want it to be, and then I need to change the diameter to 1 inch. So this right here is diameter, not radius. 1, enter, and I'm done. I have a hole. All right, so pivot lock. This is something that we could have some type of strut or swing coming into here, and it bolts into this lock and allows it 180 degrees of freedom for movement. All right, so it kind of swings around this way. So that's what we are constructing today. So now let's draw these back holes. So 1 arch, 1 counter bore hole, and that kind of gives us how we can attach this piece to the greater assembly whenever we get to that point. All right, so let's go into sketch mode. We're going to keep using our hole tool. See how that saves us time. And I just need a point right here. So this arch is 1.5 in. That center line goes all the way down through the arch. So 1.5 in from that front face. And I know the whole thing is 3 inches deep. So that's right there at the midpoint. So it's going to go ahead and give me that attachment. So let's plant a point right there at that midpoint. All right, see the little white dot? Done with that. Back into our hole tool. I've selected the point I just planted. And this one, since it's an arch, it's giving it to us in radius. So 0.625 is our radius, 0.625 inches. This right here is in inches. So if you enter 0.625 and you turn this in, I'm going to say thank you, try again. All right? So we need to make sure that we multiply that by 2. 1.25. 0.625 times 2 is 1.25. That is our diameter. So quite a bit bigger. Enter, and there we go. All right, so for our final piece, we need to do this counter bore right here. So let's get the location first, and then we'll come back and look at the dimensions of our counter bore. So we're 1.5 in, so we're midpoint again. It's going to be easy to draw. 1.75 up from this right side. So I'm going to go into sketch mode. I'm going to keep using my hole tool. Go in sketch mode, select this plane that I want to draw on where the counter bore is going to be. I'm going to just choose my line tool. I'm going to plant it right here at the midpoint of this arch or halfway through the right side. I'm going to pull it straight up and just change that dimension to 1.75. Right, so this orange dot that I got highlighted right here, that's now where the counter bore is going to go. So I'm done. Green check. Go back into my hole tool, select that point. So I have a hole exactly right there where I need it. This is a different type of hole. This is a counter bore hole. So a counter bore hole, we have a 1/2 inch diameter through hole going all the way through the piece. And then we have our little bathtub symbol or U symbol. That is counter bore. That means we have a diameter, 0.875 inch hole surrounding that 0.5 hole. So they share a midpoint. But our larger hole only goes in at a depth of 0.25 inches. So you can kind of see it in this drawing. It's only going down into the piece 0.25 inches. And the reason we'll have a counter bore hole in manufacturing or in some of our parts is so when we put a bolt in this counter bore hole, the head of the bolt will sit subsurface of the part. All right, we don't want it to get caught on anything. We don't want it to become a distraction. So it's going to sit subsurface of the part. All right, so let's do that. We're in simple mode. So Onshape makes it easy. Counter bore. All right, we're just looking at these little symbols. The through hole is the first diameter we want to give, and that's 0.5. Right? And then the next diameter is the counter bore. You remember that was 0.875. Right, starting to look like ours. And then the depth of that counter bore hole is 0.25, which is our default. Enter, and we're done. This is our entire piece. We have the entire pivot lock. So not a hard one. Might look intimidating, but we have the entire pivot lock. All right, so now let's take some time to bring this piece into a drawing file. So plus symbol right here, create drawing. Remember, we're using our ANSI B inch drawing. So if you go in here to Onshape, and yours looks like this, ANSI, our American National Standard Institute, size B, inch drawing file. No views, preloaded, okay. All right, starting to populate here. Brings our part in from Part Studio. Gives us our front view. It's a nice front view. All right, we can pull out our right side view. And we can pull up our top view. Oh, clicking on the front view again. Pulling up our top view. Planting it. A little slow this morning, but that's okay. That gives us chances to drink coffee. Clicking on our front view again, pulling it out over here. 45-degree angle will ultimately give us our ISO view. All right, let's throw that guy up here in the corner. And then escape out of our projection view tool. So let's right click on our ISO view, show shaded view, right? We want that one to look as realistic as possible. And And let's right click all of our other views to show hidden lines. All right, show hidden lines. So you can see right now that this right side view is getting a little busy. So if you aren't picking up what I'm hinting at, we're probably not going to use it. That would be tough to dimension to, and you don't dimension to hidden lines anyways, so it would get convoluted. So let's zoom in right now and look at our front and top side view. All right, so my thing when I'm starting to dimension this piece, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking all the straight, which is what you see down here in the front, I'm going to label all of those on the front view. And then I'm going to leave the curves, the arches, the circles, all of that for the top view, just to keep it as simple as possible. I'll go ahead and label this radius down here. All right, let's go to our dimension tool, and let's start with where we started. Right here, the height of this corner where we started at. All right, now I want to do where I went next to this 3-inch piece. Label the overall height of my piece. I like to hit my major dimensions first. All right. So now let's label, what can we label next? Now we can label the height of our bottom lip here. So pull that guy out. I'm going to put him down here. All right. And then I can label the height of this piece right here, the gap. All right, it's getting a little tight. So I've got the height of that. Remember, I need to know, I can figure out this jump right here by doing 2 minus 1.25. I need to know where the center of this hole is. And while we're here, let's go ahead and do some edge-to-edge center lines. So I can go from these hidden lines, put in a center mark. They're not showing as a full center mark because it's at the same place where that arch becomes tangent with the sides. And so you have that solid line, and a center line is not going to trump that solid line. All right, let's throw in some center marks up here while we're doing this. Center mark on our arch, center mark on our counter bore, center mark on that. You can actually even throw in a center mark on a round over if you like. All right, escape out of that tool. So go back into our dimensioning tool. Remember we had this dimension laid out right here from the center of that, showing us that 4.5. All right, and then when we ultimately label our radius, we'll be able to figure out the total width. And while we're here, let's label this radius right here. All right. So I think we've got everything we need. Let's go up and start working on the top, and if anything comes to us, we can come back. So throw a radius right here. That radius gives us our total depth as well as the radius of our arch. Let's throw a diameter right here. All right, trying to keep it as neat as I can. All right, this one needs a radius. And it defaults to radius when it's an arch, it knows. All right, we need to know where that radius occurs. So actually I'm going to move this radius up here. And let's go back into our dimensioning tool. So from here, not quite. All right, just clicking on the arch was able to give it to me. So now I know that occurs 1.5 up. And let's say we need this 1.75 in. All right. And then let's label this counter bore hole. I'm going to start with the inside hole, and you'll see why I do that right now. All right, counter bore hole, the through hole, and then I'm going to go up here, and below that I can put in my counter bore. All right, so a little counter bore symbol, a little diameter symbol. Remember, it was 0.875 inches in diameter. And then put a little depth symbol, or add a depth right here. And that depth was 0.25. Just don't hit enter because you'll just you'll enter down a line. So now I have that labeled. All right. So I know where this is at. I know that hole is at the center of that arch because it shares a midpoint. All right. I think we have everything. Let's do a 2-point center line. All right, so drawing that center line between those 2 points shows that they are all on the same plane. All right, that way I don't have to label that one at being 1.5 in and that one at being 1.5 in. Just showing them they're on the same plane. All right, well, I think that gives it to us. So let's escape out of our tool and let's delete this right side. Like I said, we don't need it. And there is our part. All right, so we could send this to the manufacturer. Got a front view, a top view. All of our dimensions are laid out. He's not going to call us with any questions. And then in case he does have questions, he can always look up here to see what they're aiming for, what the part is going to look like when it's complete. All right, thank you for joining. Have a good one.